God bless you from God's universal wisdom. I am in the way of Apostle Lafayette Cabell, and the music we were just listening to is a friend of mine. His name is Robert Moe. Um, Thank you for the blessing. I think that is such good music. First of all, he's a great singer, as well as it's just good to hear that in your ear. We wake up grateful, but a reminder throughout the day. Thank you for the blessing. Amen. Well, today I come to you, I'm going to talk to you all about from the thought of you are invincible. You are invincible. Now, before before I get started, I have to actually get you to understand what the defining or the denotation, the meaning of the word invincible, for order you to really receive that. Because we've been told that we couldn't do stuff. We was told that we're not good enough or we don't qualify. So I'll come to combat all that today in your lives. You are invincible. Invincible means or defines incapable of being conquered. Incapable of being conquered, incapable of being defeated, incapable of being subdued. Now, before we go back to that, we must use the good book as a reference. Today, and we're gonna go to in the beginning when God created man, male and female. He created them, and then later on he went to the dirt and he formed them, and we have a housing, and y'all know the good book story. You know how it all began, the great thing. But what we fail to realize, or what we're not giving attention to when we should understand, is that the very essence, the very material, the very matter in which we was created. Matter is a substance. So the substance in which we was created from was God himself. We was created spirit before we became human or natural beings. So with that being said, in the beginning, before there was anything else, a belief, a faith, a religion, things of on that wise, it was just the relationship between God and his creation. And that was us. And the Bible says, even in our created state, he said he blessed them and told them be fruitful and multiply. Now this is all in the spirit. This is before he went to the ground. And so with that being said, is that we were spiritual beings before we became human beings. Okay? So with that being said, I'm here to tell you, to inform you, to remind you, or to serve you notice that you are invincible, because the very substance, again, we was created in was God himself, his spirit. So he took a part of his spirit, a fraction of his spirit, and he created male and female. Now that's before you even had a religion, again, or a belief. We were spiritual beings before we became spiritual beings before we became human beings. Okay, with that being said, invincible. Invincible means, again, incapable of being conquered, incapable of being defeated, incapable of being subdued. Meaning there is no ability out there to conquer us when we're in our invincible state, when we're allowing the very creation of God to operate. We use words like our purpose. This is what your purpose is. Your purpose is to live and to be invincible, meaning there is no comparing you to anything else, because you are what God approved, God created, God made and formed. So that's what makes us very special on today. So I said, but Apostle, I've been through some things, and I didn't seem invincible. What I mean? It was like, my invincibility wasn't present, and well, this is something that you don't turn on. You allow to come out. You allow to surface. You allow it to rise. All right, let me just finish explaining the definition of invincible. Invincible also means unyielding. Unyielding. It means invincible, impregnable, and indomitable. Impregnable, indomitable, invincible. Now, Indomitable suggests that what cannot be overcome or mastered. Again, indomitable. It means you can't be overcame or overcome or mastered. This is why I always put emphasis on how special you are, because there is no another you. There's someone that may look like you, act like you, favor you, came through you, came out of you. It don't matter. You cannot be mastered, because the only one that can master you is God, and the only one that can defeat you from being mastered is yourself, not somebody else. So I'm gonna teach you, and I'm gonna show you today, whether you move on it or implement it in your life on today, that how there's nothing holding us but ourselves. There's nothing holding us back but ourselves. Not the economy, not money, not the relationship you in, not the job, not your family, your friends, and well wishers. Okay, all right. It also means indomitable. Also means, again, it says that it is, you can't be overcome. You can't be mastered. Like we can be surrounded. Sometimes it seems like we're drowning or almost drowning in the situations and circumstances in our lives, and we name them struggles and stuff. But what you have to remember in times like this, in times like when it seems like you're going to die, when it seems like there's no way out, when it seems like I can't forgive or I can't do this, there's no such thing. You can't show me in a good book where it says you can't, the word can't, when it comes to your ability and what you're supposed to do. It doesn't even tell you you can't sin. It tells you you should not, but it doesn't tell you can't. See, there's no limit to us. We say there's no limit to God, but there's no limit to us, because we was part of God before we became a part of ourselves. We must understand who you are, how great you are, how powerful you are. So invincible, you means you cannot be overtaken or over mastered. Overwhelmed or mastered. Now you could copy something. You could become a duplicate, a phony, counterfeit, but you cannot be mastered. There's only one master. The master is the original. And this is what you are. You are the original of you. No matter who looked like you or came through you, again, you are the original. So you ain't got to be held to what your kids do. You ain't got to let people hold you, or hold yourself to what your parents was and where you came from and what family you came from or nothing. You are great, invincible individual by the divine divinity, God himself. I'm trying to get his names out. Yahweh, Jehovah, Jehovah Shiskanu, Jehovah Shalom, El Shaddai. It doesn't matter what you call him, master, savior, friend, father, parent, ocean, lover, my man, my woman. Listen, it don't matter, because God fulfills all denotations of what we can even think of. We constantly bringing up new words as we think, add them into the dictionary, But we need to understand the foundation of everything. So invincible is applied to that which cannot be conquered in combat or war. Have there been some times that you have felt like you was in war with some things? I'm struggling with this, or I'm at war with this thing. I've been trying to get away from this thing. This thing keep following me. I thought I was over it, but it comes back. Let me explain some things to you, people, because the greatest weapon you could bring in any war, whether a battlefield, combat, war, it don't matter, is your mind. It's not an M16, it's not an AK-47, it's not a missile, it's not an atomic bomb, it's not a nuclear bomb. It is your mind. It's the greatest weapon you could bring into any battle. Remember that, because that's what's going to determine your outlook or how you see it. And in the way you see it just may determine how it will and will not be. Okay? So, invincible. It is something that cannot be conquered in combat or war, or overcome or subdued in any manner. And that's what we call an invincible army, an invincible coverage. Okay? Okay. Now the next word I wanted to talk to you about what denotes invincible is impregnable. Impregnable. And that is to apply to a place or position that cannot be taken by assault or a siege, and hence to whatever is proof against attack, an impregnable fortress. Meaning, we have an army that has a camp set up in us. Now, picture this. Picture an army that has a camp set up in it. And when it's the strongest campsite, and no matter what battle came against it, they never lost, they call that a fortress. So this is an impregnable fortress in which we are made from, created from, where we exist from. This is who you really are. This is what you really have on your side. Not because you have a religion, but because you are God's. Now, whether you right or wrong, whether you good or bad, whether you are evil or pleasant, everybody deserves serving. Now, saving. Now, and serving. Now, I know a lot of y'all don't agree with that, but let me tell you something. Anything of God's is worth existing. Anything of God's is worth existing. Please understand that. That's why you need to understand there is some worth and some wealth in Satan existing. Anything. Remember who made Satan. Now don't get all religious on me. Don't run back in this box. You know, here, God, universal wisdom. This wisdom is for all mankind, not a religion. It's for all mankind. So pay attention. So, with that being said, you have the denotation for invincible, and you have the denotation for impregnable. Now, indomitable. What's indomitable? Well, the denotation for indomitable applies having an unyielding spirit, or stubborn, a stubborn position with or without face in a opposition or difficulty. Let me say that again. Indomitable implies having an unyielding spirit or stubborn pre-existence in the face of opposition or difficulty. Indomitable will is what we call it. Indomitable will. So when you are invincible, you have an unyielding spirit. And people call that you full of the devil. It is your choice to decide what you're going to believe, who you're going to believe, who you're going to follow, who you're going to listen to. Don't let nobody put no pressure on you. That's your choice. They have a choice. They chose their choice. They chose what they felt works for their life. I'm telling you, what works for all mankind's life is the very universal wisdom of God. And He is telling us today that within our own selves, this is why you have that stubbornness. This is why you have that unyielding spirit. He says, well, we're supposed to yield to God. I said unyielding spirit. There's some folk that just won't bend. It just seems like no matter what you do, try to help them, whatever, then that's okay. Let them people be. Because they're just using their very material in which God given us in a wrong manner. That doesn't mean they full of the devil, because they don't want to follow you in what you believe in. So if that's opposed to you, don't you feel bad about that. You forgive them people. And y'all that God keep dropping it, I keep hearing it even now in my spirit. Y'all that have a seed of hatred in you. Let me share a little piece about what hatred is. Hatred is a poison that you drink and you expect the other person to die. Now, how much sense does that make? In other words, when you have hatred and when you hate somebody, it's just like saying you drunk poison and you expect another person to die. Because when you hate somebody, you got ill wills. Don't act like it's gonna bother you if something bad happened to them. When you hate somebody, you actually want bad things to happen to them. So what that really is like, as an example or metaphor, is like drinking poison and expect another person to die, but you drunk it. Hatred is a poison that will kill you. There is no cure for it but to let it go. There is a flushing of it out of your system, but there's no cure for hatred. They said, well, love, love and time heals everything. Yeah, yeah, but do you realize that that's one thing that can keep you out of heaven, that black seed, or keep you out of the peace of eternity with the God of divinity? That you have hatred in your heart against somebody? Again, that's like drinking poison and expecting another person to die. In the sense of when we operate here on earth every day in this vulnerable, you run into people that are very vulnerable. Just like you, there's something that you're very vulnerable in. Some people have a problem with love. Some people who don't like it, they reject it. Some people feel like you can't live without it. But they're mistaking Tommy for love. They're mistaking, Sharon for love. They're mistaking a religion for love, and that's not love. You know, love is what love does. Love is not a suggestion; it's an action. And even in that, love requires so much of you that it's a sacrifice at times to love. I was talking to one of the prophetess that God had me raised in the gospel, and her and her husband, they was talking, and we was just laughing and enjoying life, and wisdom was coming out of everybody's mouth, and we was talking about marriage, and marriage is it's a sacrifice. Marriage is a choice that you're choosing on what you're going to sacrifice for and what you're willing to suffer for. And I said, whoa, because no one wants to talk about that side of marriage, that or anybody you have a relationship with that you really care about. You what you're saying is, I'm choosing to suffer for this individual because that's what it's going to cost you. Or you're going to suffer some things to be with anybody. I don't care how much spirit they have, how long they've been here. It's just because it's impossible to be with someone and it doesn't cost you. That's impossible. It costs you to be with you. Think about it one day, you understand what I'm saying. So God, the good book tells us with God all things are possible. So this is why there's a need to keep God's company. Not you be his company, but you keep God's company. Like, the more you be with God, though, the good book says, say it this way. The good book says this way. He says, okay, if you delight yourself also in me, I will give you the desires of your heart. It says also in the good book that if you abide in me and my word abide in you, whatsoever you ask when you pray, you shall receive. So what I'm saying is, the benefits of having God's company is always the victory or the advantage of any situation. Not because you can pray to him, not because you could call on him, only because what's already in you through the relationship. It costs you a lot to get close to God. It cost you people that you felt was your friends. It cost you family members that misunderstood you and said you changed. It cost you almost any and everything. And the ones that surround you are fake because they just want to be accepted. I'm sorry, I got to say it the way it is. They want to be accepted and you want to be accepted, so you're all pretending and we all wrong, talking about we doing the right thing. I never seen God operate wrong and it's right. Meaning, right uses wrong, not wrong uses right. God called us, we was in a wrong state. We was in a sinful state. But God uses us. We don't use God. So wrong don't use right. It's the right that's using the wrong. Okay, I wanted to make sure you understood that before I moved on today. And with God, all things are possible. With Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you want to call him. And I don't have a hang up. Because before the use of Jesus to get into God, Listen, if I really broke that Jesus thing down, you wouldn't you say I lost it. But the truth of the whole matter, Jesus only came to help the religion. He didn't come to help the person. I mean the world, the people. Let me explain that to you. Because before there was a religion, there was God in you. And you had that relationship. So don't tell me I need to be in a religion or a faith to actually have a relationship with God. I don't believe that. I don't. So the people that never heard of Christianity, or the people that never heard of Muslims, and they believe in God in their own way, that there is a God. God first wants you to acknowledge that He is God. The Bible, the good book says it this way. He teaches them how to pray, and He says, "Say our Father." Even Jesus told you to direct it past Him. Past him. Now you gotta understand. Is Apostle Paul, James, John, Luke, all of them were human beings like we are. Now, do you always tell the story the way it actually went down? This is why four gospels is telling the same story, but they telling it totally different, because it's coming through the characteristics and the personality of the individual sharing the story with you. But as long as the principle is inside the same story, then it's okay for it to be told a different way. That's the beauty of us. And that's not the flaw of us. It's great that I don't teach and sound like somebody else. But as long as we get to the place where we're supposed to get to. And speaking on that, let me explain something to your people that's so-called love each other and love people. Don't get upset when someone's road become rough, because you might be in the way trying to get them off the road that's actually going to bring them to God. See, just because you have arrived to your relationship with God doesn't mean every road that someone is on is bad. If you look back at the roads you had to take, I guarantee you, with the ignorance and an unlearned relationship with God, you would say, I'll never do that again. But ask somebody like me. I will take every road I took with a smile. If it's going to get me to where I am today, whether it's back through the prisons, back on the streets, back on the drugs, back on the womanizer, backs on the line, the stealing, the cheating, I still do some of that stuff too, the gambling and stuff. I'll shake some dice in the Vegas. I ain't gonna lie to you. So if you ever hear about it, say, yo, he already told us, all right? Now back to you. Now you don't get mad with that Vegas money when I pay your bills and get some clothes for your kids, do you? When you don't have kids and food in your house, and and keep you from getting put in the street. I don't think you reject that Vegas money then. Oh, okay, all right. Well, if it don't matter then it shouldn't matter now that I'm saying that, okay? All right. Oh, man, you supposed to be a man of God. No, I am. I'm supposed to be. I am. You supposed to be a child of God. No, I am. I am. You're not going to hold me to my faults when you have just as much wrong in your life as me. I don't care how pretty you doll it up, how much you spray on it and dress it and fake this and fake that. If you look at you, you've become more fake than you've become real. Keeping up with society today. Keeping up with society today. So don't act like anyone or yourself have grounds to judge anyone. Save yourself the judgment by not judging. I may say, oh wow, that was crazy. They did a crazy thing. But guess what? Who am I to say what their judgment or penalty should be? I'm trying to free you today. God is trying to get you to come out of all this stuff and live and abide in being invincible. If you ever get that in you, that you're invincible, you'll see that the most important thing is to keep God's company. Everything else will become subject. Everything else will yield to it, because everything else is capable of being conquered. But you're abiding with the one that cannot be conquered. You have the Spirit of God in you that's invincible, that's impregnable. Oh, you can't be serious. That's indomitable. I mean, God is the undominable power, the unconquerable power, the dunamis power. You can do all things with Him. You can self-heal your body if you build that relationship strong enough with God and you believe the fact that I am invincible. I know I fell to man and in man's eyes. I know I wasn't in the head of the class and I didn't become the valedictorian. I know that I didn't always make the A, the B, or the C honor roll. But I know I was in that place. Just understand, you're in that place today. You're in a place of invincibility. You just got to believe it, accept it, and know it. And don't let no one shake you from that today. Stop pretending and just come on out. Just come on out. Just come on out. Because look, failure only depends on the level in which you're measuring yourself to. I don't believe anything. I don't believe failure exists if you learn from something. Learn from something from it. I don't believe it exists. It's not. It don't exist to me. I mean, who's the one to say you failed? Why? Because I'm not in the Olympics? Why? Because I don't no longer have a building with 250 members? That's not success. Success is living. Success is being free. Let your life witness. Why you never let nothing get you there? Why you always positive about things? Why should I be negative? Isn't there enough negative going on? I got a dear friend of mine, since I've known him, he always said it this way. He says, smile. Smile. It's not going to hurt you. Smile. And like, even in that, all them years ago, me and this man, the guy called with me to start a ministry, man, that's worldwide today. Like, even in smiling, it does something to your mental and to your physical, your spirit, and everything. It's like, you know how good you feel once you got your hair done, ladies? Because y'all know, yeah, I look a hot mess. I had a bad hair day. That's because you's a lazy. Don't get me started. Man, our girls, when we grew up, man, they sat on those steps. They learned how to do hair on the doll babies until they started braiding our hair and doing our hair, man, and they did their own hair. On some real, people just got very lazy. These wigs, and I'm not trying to knock beauticians and stuff. I got a dear friend that's a master in that, and I got a daughter that, that's licensed in that. So I don't knock the business and if you get offended, then you need to grow up, because the bottom line is, I'm not going to stop the business. This is why I understand why pastors and stuff don't like me to teach. You know what I mean? I'll never stop a Christianity. That's going to be here. Because a religion's going to be here, because religious people need something to believe that they actually have a relationship with God. How long do you got to keep going to the same building? Even in school, that stopped. Even in school, you graduated. You stay long enough on a job, they're going to promote you just because of the time you put in. You're going to get a raise. But that may not be, come on, people. Your life is greater than just when you going to become a leader. I ain't talking about y'all that just want to jump out there and swear to God you heard his voice, and that wasn't nothing but your emotions talking, and the people that's around you putting a battery in your back, pumping you up. Yeah, you anointed. Yeah, this and that. You better be very careful of that. Them the ones that get you in trouble. How you somewhere way out of God's will thinking you doing it. All you doing is the work, but not his will. And yes, you can do the work of God and be out his will. Trust me. Okay, so invincible means incapable of being conquered. Oh my God. Conquered. Incapable of being defeated. Conquered. Incapable of being defeated. Conquered and subdued. That's what I want to talk about. So what does it mean to conquer? That means like, the Bible, the good book says in the last bookends of the Bibles, I call it the book of Revelation, it says, blessed is the overcomer. But I want to talk about someone that's, that can't be conquered. Do you realize that means you could be knocked down, you can lose a fight, you could come short, but it doesn't mean it conquered you. It doesn't mean that you became defeated by it. Defeated. And let me tell you something. If something's defeating you today, you're giving it too much attention, too much power, too much reverence, and too much glory. And that's why it has it over you. Because you tell your mind that, you know, that guy you can't get away from that's very abusive. That relationship that's very abusive, women that he gonna kill me, it's gonna kill me if I leave. As long as you believe you're not gonna make it, or you cannot make it from in another place than other than where you are, then you won't make it. You won't make it. Some of y'all are scared to move. Some of y'all are scared to even go ask a question you really want to know. Oh, because, that's the leader. Well, what is the leader there for if it ain't there to ask them questions? You need to learn how to grow in everything. You need to learn how to grow in everything. So I just come by and stop by to tell you again that you are invincible. One day I hope and pray that you would be able to accept this word and receive it, and actually move on it. Actually move on it. Because God made the best when he made you, people. Remember where you come from. When you got doubt in yourself, remember, I have it in me to do it. This is why. And he said, well, you don't want to be mastered, but isn't like when a kid growing up and their parent is raising them and they kind of reverence them like a master because everything is yes ma'am and yes sir. Well, there's not the reason why God don't frown on that. Let me explain that. The reason why he doesn't frown on that is because that is conditioning you, training you, and steering you and directing you in a way so that when you do find God and you come into the realization that who he is and you start building a relationship, it's going to be automatically a reverence. It's going to come out you because you already had that reverence when you was younger. So you're going to automatically reverence. So y'all that really can't be honest with God and really can't reverence like you're supposed to, you really have very little discipline in your life. I understand you've been through this rough thing, and we all been through rough times. But for you not to be subject to something, for you not to be following something that, come on now. Come on now. You lying to yourself, first of all. Because the style you got is not the style of your own. Unless you put in time and grabbed a little bit of this and that, and then found yourself and then implemented it in your life. But other than that, you became people all your life. You wanted to be like this one, so you mimic this one. You wanted to be like this one, so you wanted to learn how to spell and be great in the spelling bee contest at elementary, so you practice and you rehearse. And there's nothing that you couldn't do. You believed. You got to have that child mind that if you see it, you can have it. You can reach it. Even though it's 20 feet away and you have no shot on your own jumping up and reaching it, it still doesn't stop you from believing. And I'm telling you, if you believe it works, this is why this stuff that goes around on these Sundays and different days, people say it's working because they believe it. They believe it. Anything you really believe in, whether you believe in it by being scared, that's why that witchcraft and all that stuff work on people, because you fear it. You're scared of it. If you look at it like a child that's 2 years old trying to bring you harm, and you're a full-grown person, and all they got is their little bib in their hand threatening you. If you see that's how that is when the attack of the devil come, then it wouldn't have as much power. It wouldn't have as much effect on your life. One thing God taught me when I was pastoring, that to teach the people how when things get crazy and it's going, you may be under attack by the devil. The very thing that confuses the devil, why the tears is running down your face, why the pain is yet in your heart, why the pillow is still wet from last night's tossing and turning it over and you can't sleep and walk on the floor. If you begin to praise him when it doesn't make any sense, just begin to thank him. See, Apostle Paul he said, in all things give thanks. When it don't make sense, while you're yet in pain, not afterwards, but thank him. While it's going on, God, I thank you. It hurts, it's killing me. I don't understand it, but I thank you. And if you stay there long enough, I thank you. I thank you, God. I thank you. Next thing you know, you be looking down, trying to see how you got out of that thing you was in. Because the gratitude, true gratitude, lifts you above the illusion, the what we call attacks, the presentation. It lifts you above it, or takes you out of it, so that you can see it for what it really is. That it's just a pit bull with no teeth. Only thing it can do is a dog can never gum you to death, people. So in other words, that's why I said pit bull with no teeth. You got to understand, stop being afraid of just being you. Stop being afraid of chasing your dreams. A lot of y'all got fear in it because when you begin to chase your dreams, it didn't turn out the way you thought it should, or it didn't go the way that you felt it should have went. This is why now till this day you don't believe what God told you in vision or through word, like you supposed to have this, and God is showing me this for your life, and oh, that was 5 and 7 years ago. It can't be. Why can't it be? The reason why it can't be because can't is saying it can't. You stop. Get that out of your life. Get that out of your vocabulary. I can't. It's either you will or you won't. Don't say you can't. Don't say you can't. I've seen people say the same thing in the same situation. Well, you saying you can't in a situation I've been through, or seen somebody go through the same thing and said I can, and they came out. What's the difference? What's the difference? I talk to the young people in the street and in different places all over the world, because some people, they say, some people actually feel like school just ain't for them. So I asked them, what do you want to do in life? And then the response to that answer to theirs from somebody else or society would say, you need to go to school to be that. You need to go to college. I give them an example of people that came out of the same thing. Like I talk to the street people, the young people. I say, well, they say, well, Puffy went to school, graduated Howard College. And I said, yeah, Howard University. I said, exactly. I said, but Jay-Z never went. He's just as successful. See, there is no excuse. Somebody else's role may not be your role, but somebody else's success is definitely yours. It's just whether you choose to have it or not, and what you call success. So I end up with this today. Understand that you're invincible. Understand that you can do all things as long as you have your life connected with God in a relationship. Because God never promised you to tell you before it happens. He said, but the very hour you open your mouth, he said, I'll give you what to say. In the very time you need something brought to remembrance, this is why I give you my spirit, so that it will bring all things back to your remembrance. It will lead you and guide you into all truth. Stop asking me to lead you and ask me to help you. Don't call on me when you should be calling on the Spirit. Don't call on Jesus when you should be calling on me. Understand how these things work. I am God. I answer to no one. I am the very self-existent God, the God that took counsel with no one but himself to bring about this great thing called creation, universe, earth, life, health and strength. People, understand today, you are invincible. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And it's time to live. And the time is now. It's time to stop making excuses and come on up out of that stuff. You could come on up out of it. If you want to come up out of it, you can come up out of it. There's no certain way of coming up out of it other than making that choice and following it through. And you have the ability to do that today, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter what your situation is. Man may lock you up physically, but you can still be free. And that don't make sense to people that never been locked up. And I ain't talking about just physically, because I know a lot of people thinking they free out here in the world are more bound than people that actually are bound in a physical lockup. Okay? So again, your mind is the greatest and most powerful weapon you could bring into any day, into any situation, into any circumstance. But you must first take on a positive mind and actually look to the strength and look to the hills from whence cometh your help. Because I stopped believing man, and they said, you crazy. I don't believe man as much as I used to, because they told me we can only see, I think, 1 to 5 miles straight, but 5 miles if you're in a distance. So I say to you then, how in God's name are everybody walking around here could see the moon, could see the sun? And I believe that's way further than 5 miles. But the conclusion that I came to was you can always see further when you look up. You can always see further when you look up. Because when you look up, there's nothing in your way. There's nothing in your way. So keep looking up today. Look up and see that as far as you can see, as far as you can go. God bless you today. I'm Apostle Lafayette Cabell, God's universal wisdom. Last but not least, you are invincible. God bless you on the day. Welcome to God's universal wisdom. I, Lafayette Cabell, is the apostle. And I come back to you on a response to the last word God had me teach on, and that was, you are invisible. And I'm going to come and talk to you today about why is it difficult for you to actually receive that you are that you are invincible. So we're going to just give you the denotation real quick on what invincible means, so I can break it down so that you can understand exactly what God is telling you. Okay? Invincible means incapable of being conquered, incapable of being defeated, and incapable of being subdued. All right. So let's go to the natural understanding in the way of our American dictionary and denotation defining of these words. Conquered. It means to overcome by mental or moral power. Let's talk about that. To overcome by mental or moral power. See, this is why you felt like when you heard God teach last teachings about you can't be defeated, and you didn't quite understand that in the way it should be understood. Now, according to your limitations and your denotations down here on earth, to be conquered is to be defeated, to be overpowered mentally. And there has been some situations in your life that you had experienced that really like kind of took you out. I have some in mind that really knocked me down. I was messed up by it, to say the least. And that wasn't the defeat God was talking about. So now that we did that, that wasn't the conquer God was talking about. Another denotation for invincible was this defeated. Now, defeated in the English terminology means destroyed. I mean frustrated hope. It also means to win victory over, as well as destruction. And again, in our lives, we have experienced things that has, tore us down, to a destruction point in our life, or the way we felt at that time in that season. There's plenty of times I can recall of having frustrated hope, and I've felt like I've lost in a lot of things in life. So that's having the victory over. So I want to make it clear of the understanding of what we believe before we come to the God's universal wisdom, the wisdom that's beyond man's understanding. The good books talk about that as well. The word subdued also means invincible, and from our understanding in the English language, is subdued means brought under control, as well as, for an example, we gave a military conquest. Subdued also means reduce or lacking in force. Reduce or lacking in force. Reduce or lacking in intensity. Reduce or lacking in strength. So, again, down here on earth, we had experiences that we felt like we was lacking in our strength, our intensity, our force, and so we felt like we were subdued to that period, that experience at that time. And we was, but this is talking morally, physically, and mentally. But what we talking about, the invincibility that's in you is actually the God that's in you. There's God in every man. This is what God is talking about. So the good book says it this way. When you're weak, God's strength is made perfect. The invincibility. That's when that comes out. It's not gonna come out because you want to be the strongest person in the world and you want to lift all these weights, or But if you heard of the ghost stories or the old legend stories, how a skinny woman weighing 110 pounds lift a car up off of her baby when it got ran over and got hit in the accident. But you see, that's the invincibility that comes out. So it's not an invincibility is not gonna come out when you want it to come out. It's gonna come out when you need it to come out. So listen to me. Whenever there's a need in your life, you're invincible. You understand? This is what God is saying. So now we understand the conquer, defeat, and subdued in the natural, you're saying, and this is what God is saying. Have you ever heard of God ever being subdued? The reason why he says, Apostle, what's your grounds of saying that everybody is God's? Because we are. We all came from it. Like the first man, the first woman, that's where we came from. We all existed. But in the spirit, we was created all together as one. And that's when he did male and female. That was as a creation, not as a generation or a nation. So understand when God teaches, that's why I had these questionnaires. So if you have any questions, you can definitely call in or email in a question, and I can see if I can fit it in and address it for you. But we got to understand, we're talking about the invincity of which is your spirit, which is in every man, which is the actual material or as matter or as substance in which it come and exists, is the Spirit of God, God Himself. So the God that's in you is the one we're talking about when we say invincible. But we have it in you. You don't have to have a religion, is what our God is saying. To know that I'm in you, I'm with you, I'm there with you. For examples, let's get some examples. Because you say you defeated, I hear the Spirit of the Lord let me know you saying you defeated because you lost a job, you lost a position, you lost this, you lost that. Listen to what the denotation of invincibility is. Okay, it says one of them is impregnable. Impregnable, and that means it applies to a place or a position that cannot be taken by assault or siege. Hence to whatever is proof against an attack. Now, see, impregnable is we could say like a characteristic of invincible. So it's safe to say impregnable is another adjective or synonym that you can describe to say God is impregnable, because he's an impregnable fortress. Because when you understand something, God never was overtaken by assault. He was never came under siege. And the Spirit of God never ever experienced that. This is why I say, he said, well, you still not showing me grounds on how you feel like everybody's God's? Listen, this is how God can connect to any person that ever been born again. This is why people go through stuff and they may become subject to some things, and some things they ain't. They say they this and they say they that. But when God comes to any individual individually, He comes, and this is why man humbles out. Immediately it becomes subdued. Immediately it becomes, defeated and within its own strength. And you humble out to the greatest divine power that ever existed, and that's God. And the reason why every man will see God that way, because in every man there's a piece of God. So that's how God can deal with anybody that nobody naturally can reach. God can still reach them, because He goes to the invincity of them, and the invincity that's in them acknowledge that where it came from, its master, its creator, is calling on its attention. So this is why this is why you can receive what was saying on the message. You're invincible. Understand what God is saying. God doesn't talk so that you could be confused. Most of the time when you're confused is because you don't understand. So that means you're confusing yourself, because you're trying to relate or understand what was just taught. And if you never heard it before, it's hard to actually comprehend it, the fullness of it, on the first impartation of it. So I understand that. That's why, thank God for technology. You can always go back and you can hear it again, and, do your research and study it and sit before God or wait for God to tell you, and open it up and reveal what He's saying to you. This is not a game. This is not hide and go seek. You know what I mean? God, the good book tell you seek, you should find. There's ways of seeking. Again, our minds is limited to the denotations in which we was taught in this educational world, in And whatever world we travel through, whether the worlds of the streets and the worlds of the environment, it's still limitations to us. But when you in the invincity, there's no limits. This is why, the people say of old, if a person is born without a soul, then time is up, it's over. The reason they say that is because they don't understand the depth of that. It's a little deeper than that. If anybody's born without the spirit of God, then we're in trouble, because now God no longer is here. So that's another thing for another day. I just wanted to get back at y'all so that I could give y'all something so y'all can understand a little better in what's going on. I'm indomitable. You're not talking about the ability of this flesh. You're talking about the very existence of your presence. See, you got to understand how great you really are. And once you understand that, then you can receive what God is telling you. Stop trying to understand God with this finite mind, with this natural understanding. The things of the natural cannot understand the things of the spirit, but the things of the spirit will control the things of the natural once the natural come up to the understanding of the spirit. Did you understand what I said? Listen, God bless you on the day. Again, I'm Apostle Lafayette Cabral. I love you. I just had to come back and get this to y'all while I was yet still fresh on your mind. Be blessed. You are invincible. Invincible. You are. Your very existence, your presence, your purpose. This is why everyone has a purpose. This is why you gotta save. Everybody's worth saving, whether evil, bad, good, smart, dumb, ignorant. The labels and the categories we file people up under. Yeah, anybody is worth it. Because if God allowed that life to come, then more of God is here, the more people come on the earth. God bless you. Stay blessed. One love. Apostle Cabell.
I send up the high.